Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be playing 100 days on Pixelmon, but with grass types only. And we're so close to hitting 10k subs. So if you guys haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for future content just like this. And without further ado, let's jump right into 100 days grass type Pixelmon. After loading into the world, I then decided what starter I'd like to pick. And of course, since I'm doing a grass type only challenge, I decided to pick Rowlet. After loading into the world, I had a little look around and it wasn't a normal village that I'd spawned in, it was a customized village created by the YouTuber unsortedguy. I will be using his mod pack for this 100 days, so if you do want to check it out, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Whilst exploring the village, I came across a bike shop, so I headed inside, grabbed myself a bike and continued searching. Eventually, after looting all of the houses in the village, I managed to get enough XP candies to evolve my Rowlet into a Disastrous. Within this mod pack, there are loads and loads of Pokestops dotted all around the map. So, after finding my first one, I opened the chest and to my surprise, had some pretty good starting stuff with a couple Pokeballs and some Great Balls. Alongside this mod pack, I decided that I'd add a moving animation for my character. And when I went swimming, I noticed that I just sort of do the T-pose, I don't actually swim. After I'd finished messing about in the water, just laughing at how stupid the animation was, I then noticed there was a bunch of these Pikachu balloons up in the air. And after doing a little bit of research, it turns out that when I make it up there eventually when I can fly, I'll get some pretty good loot. After exploring a little bit more, I then decided it was time to add a new member to my team. So I decided to catch a Bellsprout. Whilst exploring through the forest looking for more grass type Pokemon, I then came across this Greedent that had sat in a tree branch, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. After exploring further into the mountains, I then encountered a wild Morlul, which I decided to add to my team as well. After exploring a little bit further, I looked up and saw the amazing looking night sky. It was absolutely beautiful. So I decided for the rest of the night I would settle down on the top of the mountain and head to bed. When I woke up the next morning, I came across this really weird Pokeball structure. So I decided that I'd head inside and found some weird stuff. There was a player head, there was a doctor in here, and there was also a bunch of cobwebs too, and some TNT that looked like it was rigged to blow. So I repaired the TNT, and then I decided that I would just set it off, just to see what would happen. And after jumping out after setting up the TNT, I watched the entire Pokeball just completely explode, along with the professor as well. I then decided that I'd complete a couple raid dens, and after completing the raid dens, I then came across an ultra space wormhole. So of course I headed inside and looted a bunch of end cities, getting myself diamond tools, a bunch of materials, a bunch of held items for my Pokemon, and most importantly, an Elytra. I then came across a wild fungus, which I decided that I'd catch to add to my grass type team. After leaving Ultra Space, I then encountered a new village, so I headed in and had a little explore, until I ran into this battlefield that had a trainer on it. So you guys already know that I had to get in a Pokemon battle. After entering the battle, I noticed that their Pokemon were the same level as my highest Pokemon, which unfortunately meant that I ended up losing. So after losing that battle, I got back in my boat and continued my journey. I then decided to defeat a couple raid dens, and after that, I then had another evolution. I finally evolved my Bellsprout into a Weeping Bell. I then hunted until I found a birch forest, because there are a couple grass types in here that I want to catch, including Bonsweet, and then secondly, Eevee, because I wanted to evolve the Eevee into a Leafeon. And finally, after making my way home, I then had a Chikorita raid den spawn, so I defeated it and caught the Chikorita. After catching the Chikorita, I then headed back out to continue catching more members for my team, and I managed to find myself a Swaddle. After that, I finally then evolved my Eevee into a Leafeon. I then ended up finding another Ultra Space wormhole, so I headed through, and after leveling for a little bit, my Bonsweet finally evolved into a Steenie. Whilst exploring the Ultra Space a little bit further, I then came across this Team Rocket air balloon, so I flew down to it, and there was a Team Rocket grunt on it. So I got into a fight, but his Rattata was level 60, which was a lot higher than my entire team. So unfortunately, I couldn't even beat the Rattata and my entire team got defeated. I then encountered a mega boss Gengar, so I decided to battle it. After jumping into the battle though, I realised that it was level 60 and that I was no match for it. After trying my hardest, I was defeated, so I decided that I'd head out of Ultra Space. After exploring for a little bit longer, I then came across a village that had a gym in it. So I headed inside and it turns out that it was the Ice Gym. So I decided that I would take this one on and see how I did. And eventually, after a pretty decent fight, I ended up beating the gym leader, getting myself the Icicle badge. I then ended up in a jungle where I found a Pansage raid den. And obviously this guy's a grass type, so I did want to try and catch this to add to my team. But after defeating it and throwing one ball, it unfortunately broke out, meaning that I wasn't able to catch the Pansage this time. And then whilst I was travelling through the jungle in the rain, a Tapu Lele spawned. So I had to find this one and just check it out. Obviously it wasn't a grass type, so I wouldn't be able to catch it this time. So I decided that I would defeat this one. And after a little battle, I managed to defeat it but didn't get any good loot. So I dropped it all and continued on my journey. I then came across a really cool looking snowy village with an awesome looking night sky. So I had a little explore and then ended up finding the Pokemon Center. So I healed up my mons, went to sleep for the night, and by the time I'd woken up, I encountered a wild Go-Go. So I decided to catch it and add that one to my team. After catching the Go-Go and adding it to my team, I jumped on and headed out to continue exploring the snowy mountains. After encountering a new village, I then came across a mega boss Gyarados, and with my grass type team, I knew that I had the advantage, so I decided to take it on. And after it one hit quite a few of my team, I finally, after a heartfelt battle, managed to defeat it with Go-Go, getting myself an ability patch, a rare candy, and a Gyarados eye. Oh, and I also managed to get myself a Mega Ring too, meaning if I ever got a Mega Stone for a grass type Pokemon, I'd be able to Mega Evolve it. I then ended up catching an Exeggutor. I then came across an Ilex Shrine, and with the GS Ball that I'd recently acquired from killing a Mega Boss Pokemon, I decided to summon the mythical Pokemon Celebi. After throwing a few Ultra Balls, I finally managed to catch the grass type mythical Celebi. And of course you guys already know I had to add that one straight to my team, getting myself my first legendary Pokemon. After making my way home, a legendary Pokemon Entei spawned. So I went up and found it, and ended up defeating it. After defeating one of the gym trainers, my starter Pokemon Dartrix finally ended up evolving into a Decidueye. After that, I went into my local gym in my village, and decided I'd take on the Bug Gym. Luckily, they were all level 15, so this gym was pretty easy, and after defeating the gym, I earned the Hive Badge. And now that I was able to fly with my Decidueye, I headed up to one of those Pikachu balloons that was up in the sky. And after making my way up, there was a guy up here, and he just told me to leave him alone. So I opened his loot chest and managed to get myself an Elytra. I then continued flying around until I found a Team Rocket balloon. And after I made it up, there was an epic boss grunt up there. But her entire team was level 100, so unfortunately my team was defeated. I then managed to beat a boss Turtwig raid den, and I decided, well, he's a grass type, so let's try and catch him. And to my surprise, I actually managed to catch this one. I then also caught myself an Amoonguss. Then I ended up finding a Mega Boss Steelix, but unfortunately my team wasn't strong enough and I did get defeated. Whilst exploring a little bit further, a Mesprit raid den spawned, so I decided I'd try my luck and try and beat the legendary Pokemon den. But unfortunately I wasn't strong enough to beat the Mesprit and I ended up being defeated. After that, I then found another shop, and inside of it had a Leaf Stone. And with that Leaf Stone, I decided that I'd evolve my Weeping Bell into a Victory Bell. After exploring the village a little bit further, I then looked off into the distance and saw this giant yacht, and I knew that I would want to explore that soon. I then headed into the Rock Gym. And after heading into the Rock Gym, I was pretty confident because obviously my team's a grass type team, so I should have a pretty good advantage over all of the Pokemon in here. After defeating a couple of the gym trainers, my Steenie then evolved into a Serena. And eventually, after defeating all of the gym trainers, I made my way up to the Rock Gym Leader. After a pretty easy battle, I finally managed to defeat him, getting myself the coal badge, making this my 3rd gym badge. I then made my way over to a yacht that I saw a couple days back, and after landing on the yacht, I noticed there were loads of different rooms that all had chests with loot in, so I went round and looted them all. I then found a chest that had a prison bottle and a master ball in, which is absolutely insane. I then continued my journey until I stumbled across the fire gym. So after heading inside, I noticed I was going to have to do a little bit of lava parkour, and I'd have to defeat all the trainers before I could get to the gym leader. But luckily for me, the trainers in here were only around the levels of 30 to 33, and I was around 40, meaning that I'd have a clear advantage when fighting these guys, even though I didn't have the type advantage. Eventually, I finally made it to the gym leader, and after heading into the battle, his Pokemon were also only level 35, making this battle not too difficult. Eventually, after defeating the final Pokemon, I finally got the Heat badge. And after adding it to my badge case, I finally had 4 gym badges. After continuing to explore a little bit further, I ended up running into a grass gym, and I decided that I'd take it on. Finally, after beating all of the gym trainers, I headed up to the gym leader and entered the fight. Obviously, the gym leader had only grass types too, and we were both around the level of 50, so there was no advantages either side here. This was going to be an intense fight. Finally, even though it took that long that the lights turned off in the gym, I finally managed to defeat the grass gym, getting myself the plant badge. After leaving the grass gym, I then encountered a mega boss Slowbro. And since it was a water type and I'm a grass type, I figured I'd try my luck. Eventually, after getting the tick damage from Go-Go's Leech Seed, Decidueye managed to finish off the Mega Slowbro with one more Leaf Blade. I then came across a Mega Boss Metagross, and for some reason I decided I'd take it on, and I'll just let you listen to this audio clip. Go Celebi. Use Future Sight. Ow. Go, go, go. Leech Seed. Damn it. Go Decidueye. Leafy Bladey. Oh, dead. Use Giga Drain. Oh. Amumu. Use Spore. Oh. Serena. Use Drop Kick. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't say that was my smartest decision. Anyway, after that disaster, I then ended up catching myself a Wild Trico and a Wild Grookey, which are both pretty powerful grass type starters. I then spent the next few days just taking on raid dens, and as you can see, when you take on a raid den, you have a chance of getting something called EXP candy, or rare candies, and essentially this is just a bulk load of XP, which is perfect for leveling up Pokemon. And with the XP candy, I managed to evolve my Grookey into a Thwackey. I then came across a boss tower, which pretty much just has a bunch of ghost and dark type Pokemon, which aren't too difficult to defeat and give pretty good levels, so I stayed here training for a little bit. Until I encountered a Mega Boss Swampert, and obviously Mega Boss Swampert is quad weak to grass, so I decided to try my luck. And eventually I managed to beat the Mega Swampert, getting some pretty decent loot. I then continued on my journey until I came across a Mega Boss Tyranitar, but one by one he just destroyed my team, and after losing 3 Mons I knew I had to get out of the fight. After running away from the boss Tyranitar, I encountered another rock gym. And rock gyms are perfect for my grass types to level on, so I decided that I would take on another rock gym, just see if I can beat it again, and also get Thwackey a bunch of levels at the same time. Although, one thing I didn't account for was Celebi was my highest level Pokemon, meaning that the gym trainers were also going to be the high level of Celebi. So I was taking on level 70s when I was only level 50, meaning that I gained a lot of XP throughout this gym. And as a result of this, my Thwackey finally evolved into a Rillaboom. After finally taking on all of the trainers in the rock gym, I headed up to the gym leader and engaged in battle. With my newfound leveled team, this gym was a piece of cake. And eventually when I finally managed to defeat it, I got the Stone Badge, which is a different gym badge. So with that gym badge added to my collection, I now have 5 gym badges. After making my way back home, I then spoke to an NPC in the Pokemon Center, and they gave me this quest that would eventually unlock me the Dynamax band. So for the next couple days, I just defeated as many raid dens as possible, and went exploring, defeating as many Pokemon and trainers as I possibly could for the quest. I then came across a new Team Rocket balloon, and as you guys remember earlier in the 100 days, I did fail to beat one of these last time, so I decided that I would take on this balloon and see if I could defeat the Team Rocket grunt. And to my surprise, I actually managed to defeat it with my new team, and I didn't get anything that good, it was only a couple rare candies. I then headed into the water gym, and after beating all the trainers I headed up and started the fight with the gym leader. I figured this would be a pretty easy fight, just because obviously I would have the typing advantage. But surprisingly, it was a pretty close battle and it came down to just Decidueye. But luckily, I managed to take the win and got myself the water badge. And with adding my water badge to my collection, I now have 7 gym badges. After completing the first quest for the Dynamax band, the professor now wanted me to defeat 27 trainers. And eventually, once I defeated all 27 trainers, I finally got given the Dynamax band. So the next day, I then decided to head out on Decidueye looking for a very specific biome. And eventually, after days and days of searching, I finally found the mushroom biome. And there was one thing in particular that I was looking for, and that was the max mushrooms. After getting all the max mushrooms I needed, I made my way home and created a max soup. And essentially what this does is when I feed it to a Pokemon that has the ability to become a Gigantamax, it unlocks the Gigantamax ability. So I headed over to a raid den, and to my surprise, it was an Ultra Beast raid den. So this would be the ultimate test for my Gigantamax Rillaboom. And after making it into the battle, I G-Max Rillaboom and he was absolutely ginormous. It was so cool to see. But unfortunately we didn't manage to beat this raid den and ended up losing. And in my starter village, there's a rival on the battlefield, so I decided to take my newfound team and try and defeat him. Unfortunately though, he was level 80 and the rest of my team were around the levels of 75, and obviously I'm a grass type and the Charizard is a very strong fire type, and one by one he just completely destroyed my Pokemon, one hitting pretty much every single one of them until unfortunately I ended up losing the battle. I then headed out to the swamp when it was raining and managed to catch myself a Lotad. And I also managed to catch a Turtwig. After adding them both to my team, I then evolved the Turtwig into a Grottle. And then I completed a couple raid dens. Until I found a Darkrai raid den. And Darkrai is my favourite legendary, so I really wanted to defeat this one. But unfortunately, we were defeated. And with my newfound team members, I would have to do a bunch of raid dens to get a bunch of XP to evolve my Grottle into a Torterra. And then also evolve the Lotad into a Lombre, and the Lombre up into a Ludicolo. I then headed to the ground gym to get a couple more levels and to get my 8th gym badge. After defeating all of the trainers and getting my team a good amount of levels, I headed into the gym fight. And of course it was a pretty easy one because they were ground types and I had the advantage with my grass type team. After a pretty easy battle, I finally got the Quake badge, which was my 8th gym badge. And then I defeated a boss Slowbro, getting myself an Arceus plate and a rare candy. I then ended up spending the next few days just defeating as many raid dens as possible, getting my team as much XP as possible, and I was looking for something in particular. I then encountered a Primal Kyogre boss, and of course because it's a water type and I had a grass type team, I had the clear advantage, and by the end of the battle I ended up winning. I finally then found what I was looking for after doing all these raid dens. I wanted to find a legendary raid den. And of course I found a legendary Terrakion den. Eventually, I finally managed to defeat the Terrakion, completing the last objective of this 100 days. And that is it guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this grass type 100 days video. As always, if you do like the video, make sure you're hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel for future content. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one.